We all get consumed by something. Film, music, a good book, perhaps even that new healthy lifestyle. Well, on Consumed, we talk to people about what's consuming them. So, let's get consumed. Hello, and welcome to Consumed. This week, we're going to be consuming James Pickles. Hi, James.
Hi, Alex.
Would you like to tell the listeners how we know each other?
Yeah, sure. So we have known each other for a long time. Although when we first met, we weren't really friendly, were we? When we first met each other, because we were in different forms at school. So there's that class divide, isn't there? You don't really mix with the other form. Yeah,
exactly. You were upper class.
Didn't want to mix with the riffraff.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
So that would
it's
have
not
been
like we weren't friends. It's not like we didn't like each other.
No, there wasn't any animosity between us. There wasn't any friendship either. So what was that, 7 or 8?
Probably.
Yeah. And then you left that school and we crossed paths again when we were about 14, 15 maybe, through Jamie Mangan, of course. And we'd started a band. Well, Jamie Mangan started a band and we were both brought in, you on bass and me on guitar, and the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. That's it. I didn't know anything about playing bass at that time at all.
No, well, I don't think any of us knew anything about anything, really.
Still don't.
Yeah, no. Well, we need to track down one of those CDs, don't we, that we made.
So our band was called Antithesis, or Antithesis, as what we thought that was how it was pronounced at the time.
Yeah, we were pronouncing it wrong, weren't we?
We didn't know it was called Antithesis.
Sounds cooler the way we pronounced it.
Antithesis. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like we're anti-establishment, but we're just actually the antithesis. And and we did record a CD. We had 4 songs in it, I think. I think John Powell, who also known as Tomb Ghoul, who creates the music for this podcast, actually has my copy, I think. I'm fairly certain he has anyway. Not sure it's really worth reviving, to be honest.
No, certainly not.
Definitely not. Yeah, that's it. And we've been friends ever since. We used to live in Manchester together. We lived in New Zealand together.
Yes, we did.
And international.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here. I was a bit nervous before we started.
What were you nervous?
Just felt a bit job interviewy, I don't know. Like you're on camera and microphone and you're expected to perform, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're not expected to perform. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, that's good. It's always good when I'm not expected to perform.
So what have you been consuming?
Well, this is one of the things that was making me a bit nervous because I haven't been consuming much, at least from a TV and film perspective.
To be honest, I feel like every time I go in with the question, what have you been consuming, people automatically go TV and film. So actually, if you're not, start somewhere else. That's great.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say, actually, because I have recently, or the last few years, had to travel a lot for work. And one of the good things about that is that when you're on a plane, there's like no expectation. You're not connected to the internet. So there's no expectation to work or you can't watch films or TV. So I actually have been reading a lot more than I used to. So yeah, I've always been someone that buys books and asks for them as gifts way faster than I can actually get through them. So like for the last 10 years, I've been slowly kind of getting further and further away from catching up on all the books that I've got. So now recently, I have been trying to make a dent in that. I've still got a long way to go, but it's quite nice reading, actually. I don't do it as often. It's one of those things I really enjoy, but I never do it when I have spare time.
I totally agree.
So yeah, and actually I had a bit of paternity leave last year and I tried to read on that as well, which was quite nice. So yeah, I've read a few books. I say recently is very, very broad here. I mean like within the last 2 to 3 years compared to the preceding 5 years.
No, that is still recently in my books.
Hey.
About this time last year, actually, I made an effort to try and read books, but I'm not traveling for work because that basically is what I do.
Well, actually, you are traveling for work all the time.
That is it. I'm basically constantly traveling, actually.
That's all you probably shouldn't be reading.
Not reading generally. No. And so I try to make sure that I started going to bed at 9 o'clock and then reading for 15 minutes before going to bed. And I actually really enjoyed it, but I just fell out of the routine of doing it. But I feel like it's a really nice way to wind down before sleep. And
it is. I find with the reading just before you're going to sleep. I mean, I always end up reading like 2 pages and that's it. I'm basically asleep. So
Yeah.
it's good for getting you to sleep, but it's not very good if you want to actually make progress in what you're reading.
Well, this is it, because I kind of set myself a challenge of reading 10 books and I read one because it took me 6 months to read one because I was just like, yeah, falling asleep straight away. And I'm finding at the moment I'm struggling to get back into that routine, mainly because Arsenal play so many midweek games. So that's like Wednesdays out of the question. I've started recording podcasts on Tuesdays. So Tuesday I can't go to bed early because I'm editing a podcast. And then Monday I would go to the driving range and it's supposed to be for an hour, but we always take about an hour and a half. And so I get back late. So actually, these things seem to be more important to me than reading.
Yeah, it's a struggle, isn't it? And then if I'm if I'm sat down on the sofa, for I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour at the end of the evening, I don't pick up a book. I normally just pick up my phone and read rubbish.
Yeah.
Go visit all the bad places that you shouldn't.
So what books have you been reading though? What have you been enjoying in the last 2 to 3 years?
So recently, I have been reading this series called Tales of the Atori, which is by an author called Leon Hearn, that's actually a pseudonym, I think, and I can't remember what the real name is, but Leon Hearn is the writing name, and it's a series of about five or six books set in a made-up world, which is kind of loosely based on feudal era Japan, and it's kind of like semi-fantasy. It's not fantasy. There's not like dragons and wizards and that kind of stuff, but there is a tribe of assassins who have not magic powers, but they've honed their skills so well, you could say they're borderline kind of magic. But it's just really easy to read and the story is quite engrossing and I've really enjoyed reading it. But then I subsequently found out that it is a children's book,
I don't think that matters.
which is probably about right. That's why I found it so easy to read and get through, I guess.
I don't think that really matters. It's still a good story.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, I highly recommend it. They're not, massive. It's not a massive slog to get through or anything like that. So yeah, I've enjoyed reading those. I actually read the first couple years and years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. So I've revisited it, read those, and now read the rest of them, which has been really good. And I also found, because I did this, I used to have a Kindle because I used to move around a lot. I lived abroad in many different places, so I always had a Kindle. And now I only read real books. And I found this site, which I can't remember the name, so it's not very helpful for your listeners, but you buy secondhand books off the site. They're like, £1.50 a book and it's free postage. So I just bought the entire series in one go.
Oh,
And it only costs about £7 or £8. It's great.
free postage. Is it World
Yeah,
of Books?
could be.
I bought books
Might
from
be
them.
really well-known site that I think I found this hidden gem that everybody already knows about.
Yeah. Have you heard of Amazon? Which I don't actually use Amazon, though you can listen to this podcast on Amazon Music. No, I see.
I do use Amazon. I find it incredibly convenient. I know I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't.
You can. I just feel,
Sometimes you just need to order super glue at 11 o'clock at night.
yeah, at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You do. I just feel like I don't want to give them my money. That's the main reason.
Yeah, no, there is that.
And I've got super glue downstairs anyway, so it's all good. So, what else have you been reading? So, I'm not
So,
going to try and attempt writing down what you said. I'll have to take it out of the
oh yeah, no,
transcript.
that's all right. I have also been reading or rereading. So I read when I was on paternity leave, I reread my favorite book or one of my favorite books, which is A Short History of Nearly Everything
Oh yeah,
by Bill Bryson,
yeah.
that's quite a big book, or at least in my terms, it's a big book.
big boy book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that is a book about, as the title suggests, it's a history of the world and science and how we got to where we are today, but written in really accessible language. So it's quite an easy read. If you like that kind of stuff, it's not going to be engrossing if you don't, but it's really easy to read. It's quite funny, a lot of jokes. It lays things out quite simply. So that's always quite fascinating. And I think I've read it about 3 times, quite spaced apart. So yeah, another one that I highly recommend.
Do you find if you've read something like that spaced out that you kind of take different things from it each time you read it? Or do you see it in a different light or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first time I read it, I bought it actually when we were in New Zealand together from a market, and I've still got the same copy. And that was the first time I read it. So it would have been what, 20s? And I was like mind was blown at that point. I thought this is the most incredible thing ever. Reading it for now again, I still really enjoyed it, but my mind wasn't quite as blown as it was when I was young.
Is that just because you're older, or just because you knew what was coming? You knew the story, or you knew the book?
Probably a bit of both, I think.
Yeah.
I think you're a bit more. I think the older you get, the more critical you are of things. Naturally, not like complete grumpy old man territory, but I think you just think a bit more critically. When I read something now, I rather than just read it and think like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I think I'm just naturally more cynical
Right.
and think about, well, maybe this could have been written a bit better, or I don't know. I'm not arguing with any of the facts in it, but yeah,
I know what you mean. You're coming just from a different point of view. Like,
yeah.
it's just that worldly experience you now have after those, 10, 15 years.
I think it's also partly to do with the fact that reading, when I read it the first time, I probably read it really quickly in a week or something. And reading it now, I have very little time to go back and read it. So it probably took a long time. And the small time that I did, I was probably quite tired. Yeah, maybe it is just grumpy old man. It's
Maybe you are
probably
just a
just that.
grumpy old man now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Nice. So what else have you been getting up to recently?
What else? So, I mean, podcasts is always quite convenient because you can do it on the go or while you're doing stuff around the house. So always up on a few podcasts. I have a few that I subscribe or pay a subscription fee
Oh,
to.
yeah. Who do you pay
Yeah.
for?
Pay for a couple of football ones or Arsenal specific ones. Also, the rest is history, which I know a lot of people have talked about
I think
before.
almost everybody that's come on has mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just quite. I've always liked history. I mean, I did it at school at A levels and then at university, but it is just quite an accessible way to learn interesting stuff. The way I got into it though was quite interesting. So I got into it through football Twitter of all
Right.
places years ago. Like a load of journalists around about the same time started posting, football journalists that I follow, um, started posting about this series that they did on the Titanic. And you know me, famously love Titanic. Only film I've ever seen at the cinema twice. So I thought, oh, I'll give this a go. So I listened to that 6-episode series on the Titanic, and it was great. And then since then, I just kept listening.
Mm.
And then for Christmas, my mother-in-law was asking me what I wanted for Christmas, and I didn't know. And at the time, I was listening to the Jack the Ripper series, and they had some bonus episodes that I thought sounded interesting. So I just said to her, "Oh, just get me a subscription for that."
Yeah.
Haven't
Fair
listened
enough.
to any of the paid episodes, so definitely worth it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I listened to that Jack the Ripper series as well, actually. It was quite interesting because it was one of those topics in history where you're kind of like, I feel like I know about this, but actually, do I know any of the details of this? Or do I just know the legend of the story, if you know what I mean? Which was actually 100% true. I don't know any of the details. I couldn't have told you any of the women's names. Not that I can now, but I probably could like the week after I listened to the podcast.
Yeah,
And
I
it
know
was
what you
just,
mean.
yeah.
It's amazing how quickly you forget things, isn't it?
Oh, it's just so much information. So much information now just coming flying at me. I did get recommended by our mutual friend Leone the podcast Journey Through Time, which is also made by Goalhanger.
Oh
And
yeah, I've not heard of that.
it's with David Olaswego. Have I said that right?
Is he the guy of Traitors?
The guy that he was. I used to like him, and then I saw him on Traitors, and I'm like, oh man, grow a backbone. And
Yeah.
then it's with a female American historian called Sarah Churchwell. But it's essentially very similar to The Rest is History. But I think they concentrate a little bit more on. It feels like they concentrate a bit more on 21st century or 20th century history. So I was currently listening to a series on McCarthyism, and I think the difference is that they are not too white, like older middle-aged British gentlemen.
Yeah. Is there a bit less middle class bants?
Yeah, basically. Let's chat about cricket. So it's kind of like it's nice little juxtaposition. It's funny, it's produced by
Yeah.
Gary Lineker. So like they obviously thought, right, well, we need to juxtapose this other podcast with it. To be honest with you, it's good because it's interesting because I find the history interesting, but actually I don't find that they're as engaging as the other two guys are. They make it really easy to listen to. But yeah, which Arsenal podcast do you subscribe to? Arsenal Vision and Askblog.
Arsenal Vision and Askblog. I mean,
Yeah.
Askblog has been a staple for, well, since about 2000 4, 2005.
I mean,
I
that's crazy,
mean,
isn't it? It's
yeah,
so funny because there's no one other than Arsenal fans are gonna know what we're talking about here.
it's a bit niche, isn't it?
It's very niche, and then everyone's just gonna be like, "Arsblog?
But
What?"
it's like, I remember at university when I used to be revising for exams, I'd go to the library. The first thing I'd do would find a computer, and I'd had like a routine of getting online, and then I'd read Arsblog and I'd read the BBC gossip column, football gossip, I should say. Um, and and then like, yeah, this was before podcasts were a thing, right? And then
Mm,
he used to do podcasts, and I always ignored that because I didn't really know anything about it. And then I
mm.
remember Pat, friend, our mutual friend Pat, one day said to me, he was like, do you ever listen to his podcast? And I said no. And he's like, he's just some Irish guy. And I was like, I had no idea. And then you listen to him and he's got like the perfect voice for radio, hasn't he?
I was so shocked when I first heard his voice because I was just like, "What? Is he like, is that really him? Like, he's just like some guy writing a blog. Why does he sound like he should be just like doing voiceovers?"
But it turns out he does do
He does
voiceovers
do
for,
voiceovers, yeah,
yeah.
I'm not surprised because his voice is really good. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I was reading the blog the other day, and it was the 24th anniversary since he started writing it, which, like, 2002, fair play that he's basically got up and written one every day, since then. But, yeah, I remember you introduced it to me when we were, living together in, like, 2007, 2008, guys, it's ages. I've just basically read his work almost every day. I don't read it as much, to be honest, these days, the actual blog, but I listen to the podcasts.
Yeah, and
But
he did one the other day saying he was looking at the amount of words he's produced over the last
yeah,
24
I did
years, and he
see that.
thinks it amounts to something like 130 novels.
Yeah, just writing about Arsenal daily. I mean, that's
Yeah.
crazy
So
that he's made
when
a
he
career out of it.
yeah, when he introduced the Patreon, I kind of felt like I had to, even if I wasn't going to listen to it,
Do
because
you know what? Yeah, I did the same. I did for a little bit, and it was more just to say thank you. Here's a little bit of money because I've read your work for free for so long. But then I kind of just got a bit bored with Arsenal because we were a bit crap at that time, and so I stopped, and I haven't gone back. I haven't gone back at all. So, is it just those three podcasts that you listen to, just those Arsenal ones, and the rest of history?
No, there are some
Obviously,
others that I kind of dip in and out of. They're the kind of core staples, and to be honest, they produce, between the three of them, they produce more content than I can actually get through.
That's true.
I recently started one with Sarah. We were on a driving back from her sister's, and her sister just recommended one to us. She's an author, so it was around a book called The Salt Path, which I hadn't heard
Oh
of, but
yeah,
apparently is massive, or was massive.
there's just become a movie last year.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was a piece of investigative journalism on that where it turns out it's
Mm.
all made up,
Well, this is so the thing is,
or not all made up, but very heavily embellished.
I believe that the story was kind of written as if like it was a true story, but actually it's just
Yeah.
a book, and so someone's kind of made it seem like it was based on a true story, but it's not actually based on a true story.
Yeah, and I had no idea. It completely passed me by, so I'd never actually heard of it. But listening to the podcast about it is really interesting. And they said that they fell on hard times because they were conned into a business deal from a friend, and then the friend repossessed their house. But what actually happened was she was a bookkeeper for a local business, and she'd been squirreling away money for years, and she got found out. And then that's how they kind of came to ruin. And then her husband, Moth, always called Moth in the book, got the same day that their house got repossessed. They found out that he had a terminal degenerative disease, which again was apparently not true.
Oh,
And and then they said they went on this walk around the Salt Path, which is the coast of Cornwall. And over the course of this walk, living in a tent, not owning much, they found that it cured his degenerative disease, just getting back to nature. It was used as a kind of, look at how
yeah.
you can heal yourself by just being at one with nature kind of thing. And it turns out it was all rubbish.
Right. Man, that's I can see why people are angry actually.
Yeah, because it kind of appeals to your inner, like, this
Yeah.
is the kind of thing that you just want to be true, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a heartwarming, like, oh yeah, that sounds really nice. But yeah, so it's quite sad in that sense.
Mm. That is that because I kind of classic kind of me taking in news. I just read the headlines, so I was kind of like, right, okay, I see what's kind of going on, and I saw there was a bit of a hoo ha about it, but I didn't realize. I mean, I would feel like if I was, say, someone who had that disease, and I read this, I'd be like, oh, great, I've now got hope.
Well, that's it. It sparked off all this kind of hope for people with
Yeah.
terminal conditions, that if they just, go for these big walks and get out in the open fresh air. I mean, it's not going to do you any harm, is it?
Well, no.
But it's kind of just giving people false hope.
Yeah. What if you were on a dessert island? What dessert would you eat first?
I love a dessert, but there is one rule for me, and that is non-fruit based desserts.
Hmm.
Or actually, more specifically, if the fruit is cooked, that's fine. Cooked in sugar, preferably. It's a dessert, so it probably will be. But yeah, don't come at me with a fruit salad,
Okay, I went.
which often happens when I go to my mother-in-law's house. So I just have no dessert while everyone else eats a fruit salad. But so yeah, other than fruit-based desserts, I'm pretty easy.
So
Sticky
you,
toffee pudding is probably the classic go-to.
yeah, same. I actually had one last week for my birthday.
Did you?
Yeah, Amy made one for me for my birthday because I told her it was my favorite dessert, which that's fine. I probably would say it was my favorite dessert. But when we were first getting together, so she made me one, and basically she kind of makes them all the time now because I said that they were my favorite dessert. They are good though.
Yeah, I've never tried to make one actually.
To be
Is
honest
it
with you, it's just like
easy?
yeah, it's just like it's like a cake with dates in it, and then you make a sticky toffee sauce, and then just pour it on top.
Well, yeah, given what I just said, I actually prefer them without the dates,
Yeah, fair enough.
but I will eat them if there's got dates in.
Yeah, because they're cooked in sugar and stuff. Yeah, had a tiramisu. I don't know if you recall previously on this podcast, tiramisu was mentioned by Victor, and I had one on Saturday night because me and Amy went out for dinner at a restaurant called the Italian Connection in Harrogate, which is really tasty. Quite an interesting place. I would recommend it to anyone. So it doesn't sound like it might sound like I'm about to slag it off, but I'm not. What I really enjoy about it is the fact that it was probably made about 20 to 25 years ago, and it hasn't really been decorated properly since. There's still kind of like a real like early 90s vibe about it. Like I feel like when I go in there, I am walking onto the set of Bridget Jones's Diary, and it just has a real certain charm about it, and it's really really nice. It was also it was two fillet. If you bought two fillet steaks, you got a free bottle of wine. So I did
Oh,
that.
that's a nice deal.
Yeah, I know. So we had scallops with peas and pancetta, which is also like a real like throat.
That's one of my fave starters. That
Yeah,
scallops and pancetta.
yeah, it was delish. And then had fillet steak with a brandy peppercorn sauce with the bottle of Shiraz because that was the house wine. And then for dessert, yeah, tiramisu, which was really really nice. And yeah, like I had had one since Victor had mentioned it, but it's also a bit of a go-to sometimes when I see it on a menu. Just
Tiramisu.
yeah, just
Yeah,
love
I like tiramisu, but I feel also like it is one it can go wrong, can't it?
it can.
Like sometimes you get it and it's just, I don't know, it just tastes like eating cream and
No, this
nothing
one
else.
was really good. That's what I mean. Like the food at this place is like really good, even though the vibe is a little bit dated. But like the tiramisu, yeah, it was just perfect. It was really, really nice. And then we went to this cocktail bar, which I sent you a picture from. I was
Yeah, you
explaining
had
this.
was it a Happy Meal?
I had a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
So
I
this
mean, I bet you felt happy after that.
to be honest with you, it was a great choice. This cocktail bar is really nice. It's called Over and Above, and it's in Harrogate. If anyone's in Harrogate, and it got voted in the top 50 cocktail bars in the country last year. I don't know what number it was, but I read the headline. So a cocktails in there are probably like 15 to 20 quid anyway, and the Happy Meal was 19 quid, and you got a daiquiri, a pint of Guinness, and a shot of whiskey, and
Did you get any instructions on how to drink it or what
no.
order you should do it?
What I did is I took a sip of the daiquiri. I then shot the whiskey, and then I had a sip of Guinness.
What, and left it after that?
Yeah, no, I finished it. But it's the kind of cocktail place as well where the drinks are really, really nice, but sometimes you just have a couple of sips and then the drink is gone. And so, having a pint of Guinness meant that I could drink the daiquiri like I wanted to, but also sip on a Guinness whilst I was there.
Yeah, I find that sometimes you get a cocktail and it's really nice, but you know there's very little of it.
Yeah.
And so you're taking the tiniest sips to try and make it last a bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh God, I just want another drink now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I've got to wait till everybody else finishes, otherwise it's a bit rude. So that was nice. And then, yeah, we came back and I tell you what, this is something that we've been consuming that we do sometimes on a Friday or a Saturday night if we've had a drink, which isn't that often to be honest, but sometimes we just like have like one. Pat bought me a bottle of whiskey for my birthday. And so I had one of those. But what we do sometimes is we watch old Jules Holland clips on YouTube. So like through the years of like bands that we like and stuff and musicians that we like. It's quite good fun actually.
I quite often on a Friday or Saturday evening, if I've had a glass of wine or whiskey, I'll sit here or go to bed, and I'll be like, yeah, just I'll be up in a minute, and I end up on YouTube looking at old footage of bands and stuff that
Yeah,
I haven't looked at for years.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's great. Like, I think as well because I still watch Jules Holland every now and again. But like when it throws one back that I kind of remember from the early noughties or something like that. There was a great one with the White Stripes the other day, and I was like, man, the White Stripes were great. And I just kind of forgot about how good they were actually.
How are you at? Because one of the things that I often think to myself is I'm so terrible at listening to new music.
Mm.
And I don't listen to as much music as I would like. And when I go on my phone, because I use Spotify, and I want to listen to music rather than a podcast, I'll go to the music and I just click on like recently played. And I'm in this cycle at the moment, and it's been going on for quite a number of years of basically just listening to the same things over and over again
Yeah.
because it's in my recently played. It is a vicious cycle.
So I try quite hard to listen to new music. So I listen to the Release Radar playlist. So that, I mean, is given to me by Spotify, but that is also collated with what I've been listening to recently. So about this time last year, I was listening to new music, but I get a lot of it from the radio, listening to Six Music in the car, or if I listen to Six Music in the house, and I hear stuff that I like. But because I've also just been listening to I've just been listening to a lot of jazzy playlists in the car, and so it's just stuff that it just sets a vibe in the car when I'm working. So like when I listen to the Release Radar, sometimes I'll get really random stuff because they're just going off what I've been listening to. And so I try and do that. So actually, I have created a playlist for the called Consumed. Are you a Spotify? Yeah, you just said you
Yeah,
were on Spotify.
Spotify.
I'll add you to it, and you can add playlist. You can add songs to it anyway. I keep meaning to share it with everybody that listens if they want to listen to new music. But I've been
No,
adding new
that's a good
music to
shout.
it. I so everybody apart from I don't think I added Haley last week. I've added everybody who's been on if they wanted to add songs to it, so they can add songs to it. I did add Luke, but he hasn't added any songs from Kevin and Perry yet, even though he said he was going to. But he's actually gone skiing this week, if anyone's interested.
Do you know what I did the other day actually? Because of this podcast, I ended up revisiting the band Consumed, who I used to listen to a lot when I was younger,
Yeah,
who are like an English punk band.
yeah, yeah.
And they had a song, or the song that got me into them was a song called A Twat Called Morris.
I remember that actually. I do
Yeah,
remember that. Yeah,
because they were on Fat Mike's record label, Fat
yeah,
Records.
yeah.
And they had a really famous one actually, which was on a Tony Hawk's,
Oh,
which you'd probably recognise,
I would definitely recognise.
called Heavy Metal Winner.
If I hear it, I would definitely know it because
Yeah.
I'd just be thinking about button bashing. Um, on Tony Hawk's. Um, yeah. So yeah, that playlist is there if you want to listen to some tunes of that. I haven't added any of the tunes that Adam recommended in the very first podcast. We can do that as well. Cool. So anything else? Any other business?
Any other business? I don't think so. Actually, one thing, another band that I've been listening to recently, which do you ever use YouTube Shorts?
Well, I post on there quite a lot.
Oh, do you? No need to
But
follow you.
I will post clips from this.
So I got into it when Ali, my youngest son, was born, and I was up in the middle of the night a lot, and
Mhm.
I would just put a headphone in and scroll through rubbish on that. But I got introduced to this band somehow. I don't know how the algorithm got me, called Pacifica,
All right.
who it's an Argentinian band, and it's nothing like groundbreaking or anything, but I just thought it was quite fun. The guitars are quite like early 2000s indie, so
Yeah.
almost like kind of strokesy, and then two female vocalists, just quite like fun, happy tunes, 2.5 minutes long, really easy listening, a little bit nostalgic because it's got that kind of early 2000s feel. But yeah, that's another thing that I have been consuming recently.
Yeah. YouTube Shorts is. I mean, I'm assuming you don't have TikTok.
No, I kind of assume YouTube Shorts is like TikTok for middle-aged people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah, so I post clips from these podcasts onto that, and actually they're doing all right. I'm just kind of doing it as a bit of an experiment because I don't suspect many of my close friends have subscribed to this podcast on YouTube. They might have done, but every time I post a video, I seem to get another subscriber. So I'm kind of hoping that it's like a random person that's just seen the YouTube short. But yeah, I think it is basic or Instagram Reels. You don't have Instagram either, do you?
I have it, but I mean, I open it about once a year.
Yeah, so I try not to use Instagram. I have to delete it because otherwise I get stuck on it for hours.
Yeah,
Um,
that's Twitter for me.
yeah.
That's the bad place that I referred to earlier.
Well, I have deleted all like apps and stuff like that off my phone because YouTube Shorts was the same. I would just watch YouTube. I'd get into bed and I would just watch YouTube. So I leave my phone downstairs at night. But yeah,
But I think it probably will be promoting it, because sometimes I'll get a random video that's got like 2 likes and 10 views, and it gets given to me for some reason. So, you'll be getting someone somewhere.
well, yeah, no, I've had to. But each video gets about 1,000 views now, so it's not too bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, and so hopefully it's helping promote the show. But thanks for coming on. I've got to again say thank you to everybody that's listening and subscribing and all the nice messages that I get from people. So yeah, thank you everybody, and please like and subscribe the show. I've been trying to think of a sign off for the end of the show, and actually I think I came up with one weeks ago, and I keep forgetting to say it. But anyway, thanks for coming on and having a chat, Jim.
Thanks for having me. Been a pleasure.
It's nice to chat.